I'm Jerry Agar for Ezra Levant. We've been telling you about a big human smuggling bust in Ontario connected to cross-border activity in Quebec. Immigration Minister Jason Kenney joins me. Welcome, sir.
Good to be here. Thanks very much, Jerry.
All right, so we've got a number of issues to cover with this. First of all, let me ask you this right off the top. Who do you blame the most? The smugglers, the smuggled, or are they both equally complicit in an illegal operation?
They're both complicit in a criminal operation. The people who are smuggled, let's be clear, this is not a trafficking operation. The people who came in here illegally were doing so voluntarily, working with what we would call facilitators, paying the money to come here. And quite frankly, as far as we can tell, they're all part of the same very closely knit group. Now, we're talking about people who've been coming from a particular village in Romania, they've been flying to Mexico, where Romanians don't need a visa, staging there, believe it or not, in some cases in Cancun, then paying a smuggler to help them cross the Canada-U.S. border, often being detained by the American authorities, subsequently bailed out for as much as $10,000 or more, so there's big money at play here, and then renting vehicles to drive all the way north to the Canada-U.S. border at a crossing called Stansted, Quebec. It's a very complicated you've got video of it right now. It's a very complicated border crossing because it's right through a town. So people can get off on one side, walk across the border down back alleys and whatnot. And so they know exactly what they're doing. What they're doing is actually rushing the border, driving northbound on a southbound lane, crashing down the highway until the police stop them. Then they're being stopped and they're saying the magic word that they've been clearly trained to use, which is refugee. They then make asylum claims. Subsequently, most are going on to Toronto, where many have subsequently been, warrants are out for the arrest of many of these people because of their involvement in criminal organizations doing distraction thefts, thefts at jewelry stores, various forms of fraud, etc.
All right, so they've come out of Europe. There are any number of countries a refugee could go to. Then they go through, as you've just said, Mexico, the United States, and then Canada. I have said that we are, as a refugee destination, a chump country in a certain degree, to a certain degree. Do you think that's true?
Well, let me be clear. We are a generous country, and
But we're played for chumps, is what I meant.
We too often are. I mean, look, we have a humanitarian tradition that we all want to maintain of providing protection to bona fide victims of persecution. That's part of our history, part of our character as a country. But when you are that generous, regrettably, some people will seek to abuse your generosity. In fact, almost 2/3 of the people who go through our refugee asylum system ultimately turn out not to be refugees, not to have a well-founded fear of persecution. And I suspect the majority of those folks are really primarily economic migrants making up stories about persecution. In this case, we're talking about people that are Romanians, have mobility rights in 27 EU democracies. Now, these countries are not all perfect, but I mean, they include Sweden and Denmark and Netherlands and Britain. And I mean, these are amongst the most developed, rights-respecting, free democracies in the world. If they needed protection from Romania, they could have gone to any one of those. When they flew to Mexico, they could have sought protection in Mexico, which is a signatory to the Refugee Convention, but they didn't. They could have sought protection from the U.S. that offers protection to refugees, but they didn't. Jerry, they came all the way through those countries to Canada. Why? I suspect one of the reasons may be that this is the only one of those 30 countries I just mentioned which provides immediate welfare and other social benefits to asylum claimants.
All right. Now, you're cracking down on this. I think a lot of people want to see that happen. On the other hand, is it a situation now where the Canadian government is going to be too tough on people? Somebody will come here, they really have a legitimate claim, but now Jason Kenney and Stephen Harper are just going to throw them out of the country.
Absolutely not. That's what you would think if you were to listen to some of the left-wing immigration lawyers, but the truth is that we are so generous that even people who smuggle their way into the country illegally, even those who come from what we would generally characterize as safe democratic countries, even those folks will continue in our reformed system to get access to the same kind of high-quality, fair, independent hearing on their refugee claim before an independent decision maker at the quasi-judicial Immigration Refugee Board that is compliant with due process, natural justice, the Charter of Rights, and the Refugee Convention. Nothing changes in that regard. And if anything, Jerry, I think our system, as some have said, it errs on the side of generosity. I mentioned that 36% of asylum claims are ultimately accepted by our Refugee Board, that's about twice as high as the acceptance rate in other Western liberal democracies. So if anything, we err on the side of generosity. We will continue to do that, but we're now sending a clear message. If you want to come to Canada, please get in the queue, come here in an orderly and safe fashion. Don't hire a criminal syndicate to bring you here illegally and dangerously. Every year, thousands of people die in human smuggling operations around the world. We have a moral obligation to send a message to stop doing that. And the measures that we used yesterday in designating these illegal smuggling operations will be heard by the Romanian networks organizing these. We believe there are people staging in Mexico and the United States probably right now. And believe me, they will have heard about these detentions yesterday, about the new law in Canada, and I suspect that will cause them to have second thoughts about abusing Canada's generosity.
All right, and I know you're still looking for some people in this operation, but do you have any idea how many people are illegally in this country now?
Oh, when overall, we don't have an idea. The best estimates are that it's in the tens of thousands of foreign nationals who do not have legal status in Canada and are subject to removal. One of the problems, Jerry, is that we do not have an exit information system. So we know when foreign nationals are coming into the country, generally. I mean, some might sneak across the land border that we don't know, but generally we know when people come in the country, but we don't know when they leave the country. Now, that's why our government is in the process of implementing a exit information system. In the future, when foreign citizens leave Canada, we'll be scanning their passports, we'll know if they've left. That will define the number of people who have illegally stayed in Canada, making it much easier to find them and remove them.
Minister Kenney, thanks for your time.
My pleasure. Thanks for your interest, Jerry.